Welcome to Sports from the Couch.
I gotta say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
With your host, Mike Mercado.
Players cannot stand him. Coaches cannot stand him. Most importantly, the fans can't stand him.
Brought to you by Mercado Airwaves.
I'm gonna say it once, and hopefully I'm wrong, but it's a disaster waiting to happen.
That is so bad, that is absolutely brutal.
Hello, friends, and welcome into another edition of Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. I want to thank you so much for making us a part of your day. It is Monday, February 8th, 2021, and oh boy, do we have things to talk about as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Kansas City Chiefs 31-9. Tom Brady getting his 7th Super Bowl, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense making Patrick Mahomes and his Kansas City offense look mortal. We got things we got to talk about, but before we get to all that, let's take care of some housekeeping notes. You can follow us all over social media. I'm on Twitter at Mike and Media, Instagram, I'm Mike Mercado Media, and the show is on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. Like, rate, review, and shares wherever you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. It really helps grow the brand. You can become a producer of the show at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves, the home to our interviews with athletes and celebrities that you can get ad-free and before anybody else. That's patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. We have swag. Check us out at teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. Come play video games with us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves, and keep up to date with everything we're doing on the network, from the True Crime Show, the Pop Culture Show, the Gone Missing Show, and our interviews with athletes and celebrities. Follow us on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves.
Antonio Brown looked like his career was over. Gronkowski comes out of retirement. Fournette was looking for a home. And when the Super Bowl ended, the ball would be in the hands of Tom Brady.
I don't know why we ever think it won't.
Super Bowl 55 is in the books, and it will go down as the moment Tom Brady won his 7th Super Bowl ring as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Kansas City Chiefs 31-9. Patrick Mahomes, the future of the NFL, the current of the NFL, was shut down, but still amazed the audience as his Chiefs just did not show up against that Tampa Bay defense that really put a stranglehold in that game and gave Tom Brady all the lead that he needed and all the time that he wanted to make sure he got things done. We saw an injured offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs try to hold on, and they just couldn't do it. And this is how we're leading into an amazing offseason. But we have to reflect on Super Bowl 55, and I have some things I need to talk about that I've been thinking about over the last 24 hours since the game, and we have to really acknowledge just how easy of a day it was for Tom Brady. And when you were watching him, you just saw what was that old school sergeant Tom Brady going and doing whatever he wanted. You had Tom Brady go 21 for 29, 201 yards, and 3 touchdowns. 2 of those going to Rob Gronkowski. Leonard Fournette, 16 carries for 89 yards. Ronald Jones, 12 carries for 61 yards. Fournette had that big touchdown that really put that game away, it felt like. Gronkowski, 6 for 67. Fournette, 4 for 46. Antonio Brown with a big touchdown. And amazingly, putting up 31 points, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin pretty much shut down in this game. So it was a very easy day at the office. Not exactly the way a lot of us thought it would go if they were going to put up 31 points. But Tom Brady was calm, cool, and collective, and just seemed like the minute he got every opportunity to put the Buccaneers ahead a little bit or give them a little bit of an advantage, they took it. And that's what happens when you have somebody like Tom Brady. And on the other side, I mean, look it. Patrick Mahomes, 26 for 49, 270 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. You had Clyde Edwards-Helaire with 9 carries for 64 yards. Patrick Mahomes ran it 5 times for 33 yards. That's not including a stat that we're going to get to later. That's unbelievable. Travis Kelce had 10 catches for 133 yards. Tyreek Hill, 7 catches for 73 yards. This was a man that went off and had over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns in Week 12 when these two teams met. And that's where, when we talk about how Brady had an easy day at the office. Mahomes didn't. Mahomes was hit, was rushed, was uncomfortable all game. And the way Todd Bowles and that defense just adjusted to this team. Look at, I know the hyperbole about after this big game that everybody is going to want Brian Leftwich and Todd Bowles, and rightfully so. They do deserve to have their names in these conversations. Same thing with Bieniemy, and even though it wasn't a great game for his side of the ball, it was a great game and a great season for them leading into this, and Todd Bowles just had the perfect defense played out. And these guys executed it. But what you saw is they weren't going to be beat like they did last week. They were not going to let you get them over the top. They were going to have safety help. You were going to get chunks, but you were never going to score on them. And that's why Travis Kelce still had a big night, but they were not going to let Tyreek Hill burn them again. And what's unbelievable about this game is this stat, that this comes from us from Next Gen Ads on Twitter. You can follow them at Next Gen Stats. The Buccaneers pass rush forced Patrick Mahomes to bail out of the pocket and scramble all over the field. So we saw that, him getting rushed, him being hurried. This is the unbelievable part of it. Mahomes traveled 497 yards before throwing the ball or being sacked. The most scramble yards in a game by any QB in the new Gen Stats era, and that's since 2016. So essentially, he ran 497 yards from being rushed or before he took a sack. That means all of that was behind the line of scrimmage or right when he got to it. That's not the 33 rushing yards that he had. That man ran 500 yards because he was being absolutely pressured and had the fire on him by those dragons on the Buccaneers defense. And the amazing thing about that Buccaneers defense is because they were running that defense to make sure they had help over the top, especially that safety help they weren't going to get by Tyreek Hill. They were doing that with their front four. How unbelievable is that? That right there is when the 06 Bears went to the Super Bowl. That was what is the perfect version of that defense. And even with that being said, Patrick Mahomes was absolutely amazing in his failure. And that's crazy to say, but he still looks so good. You had that play, right, where he's scrambling and he's literally horizontal to the ground. Perfect line. And still manages on that angle to get the ball, 30 yards down the field? 50 yards down the field? And it hits his receiver right in its hands, and then in the helmet, right in the face mask? He's special. He still kept you in that game. That's what was the thing I kind of just kept feeling as this game was going on. I never really thought Tampa Bay was going to lose this game as soon as we got to that 21 point. And it just felt like Kansas City couldn't get anything going, especially seeing poor Patrick Mahomes being just drilled time after time after time. But even seeing all that, you couldn't count them out because that's how special Patrick Mahomes is. That's how dangerous this offense is. And that's why it was so remarkable to see what Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles did with this defense, what these guys did on this defense. And it was a great showing by that secondary. It was a great showing by that front four. And those linebackers just making sure Travis Kelce didn't run all over them into the end zone. They were going to give up his yards. They were okay with that. And I guess where this really, I guess if you're a Chiefs fan, you have this two-way minded of it, right? You didn't look quite good. So you know that this wasn't your best effort. And you have to be honest about the situation of you lose your tackle, you got to move your right tackle, you're switching up this line. Yeah, you weren't at full health. But I think that's what a lot of people forget about the NFL, especially when you have such a special quarterback like Patrick Mahomes who can consistently keep you in a game, can make special play after special play. When you've seen this team go down 21 to a team like Houston and come back and win, their entire Super Bowl run, come back and win, people forget it's so hard on the body. This is a tough sport. It's the difficult thing to repeat. That's why nobody does it. And that's why this win for Brady means so much. We could get into that right now. This is his 10th Super Bowl, now his 7th ring. He's won an NFC championship now, a Super Bowl in the NFC. Took a team to the Super Bowl in its home stadium and won, dominating went through Drew Brees, beat Aaron Rodgers the year Aaron Rodgers wins another MVP, and then beats the guy that everybody's saying is the heir apparent, and rightfully so, beat him. And of course, it's not boxing, it's not MMA, you're not going one-on-one and whatnot, but the records are what the records are. And Tom Brady had a interesting season, to say the least, right? Because there were times where they just didn't look right. But a lot of that was no offseason in a pandemic, brand new team, brand new offense, and yet somehow, when everything was on the line, the guy who's done it the most looked the best. And this is a conversation that's going to kind of spin into its own episode about the GOATs, the Mount Rushmores, because I see people getting really upset about putting Tom Brady in that echelon as the GOAT of all GOATs. Yeah, you got Bill Russell. Yeah, you got Michael. You got Serena. You got Tiger. You got Simone Biles. Like, there's a bunch of them. I get why you have to put Tom Brady on it, or he has to be part of the conversation. But that aside, think about what this man has done. Think about what you do in your life, your career, your dream career, for those of us who are lucky to be in it. Imagine the competitive hit list. Let's say for us here in media, it's all about the podcast awards or the Emmys and all that. You know what? The Marconis, that type of stuff. So you have your friends who are your contemporaries that you want to win the award over them. You want them to have success, but you want to have the bragging rights every once in a while. And this is a case where Tom Brady, the competitiveness, he's outlasted Peyton Manning. Think about that. Peyton Manning, the day before Tom Brady wins his 7th Super Bowl, appearing in his 10th, Peyton Manning is going into the Hall of Fame. Think about how this man went through Drew Brees, the guy that he's been trading the touchdown record with on the road. The man went against Aaron Rodgers, how everybody wanted the dream Super Bowl of the Patriots versus the Packers, Brady versus Rodgers. We got the next best thing, a conference championship. And he went to cold weather. Everybody was worried. Can the Buccaneers, a Southern team from Florida, go to Lambeau Field? They forgot the guy who played in Boston was the guy under center. And they have all that talent. Then he beats the future, the video game character, the alien, the superhero, Patrick Mahomes. Outperforms him. And Mahomes, will never have to hang his head low. Dude's a super stud, for a reason. Brady did all that. He's kept Phillip Rivers from winning championships. He's kept so many Hall of Famers from getting championships. J.J. Watts. Think about the guys that couldn't get one because of him. Donovan McNabb, Terrell Owens, Steve Smith. It goes on and on and on. And he's kept them from winning championships. One of the most competitive people. And he's coming back. He's running it back. He said it, right? Right after the postgame. It's pretty crazy what Tom Brady in this Super Bowl means. It does. It means a lot. And it doesn't matter if was the man, wasn't the man. It just, other than Eli Manning, he's gone through the gauntlet. And trust me, he's not worried about Nick Foles. So it means a lot. And in a defeat, I still think Patrick Mahomes, he's going to have surgery in his toe. And you're ever going to talk ill will? You're ever going to say anything negative about Patrick Mahomes? The man, when he is having a bad game or he throws an incompletion or anything, it still looks spectacular. He's special. He'll be there again. But maybe not necessarily a Super Bowl. I think that's kind of the next chapter of this. Because we know that the coordinators for Tampa Bay are going to have a little bit more shine on them. We know that this particular defense, whatever's able to transfer over into next season, will have a little bit more respect in their name. People will understand how dangerous this offense really is. When I'm telling you, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are 2 top-tier elite players, and they're nothing in this Super Bowl, and yet they still are able to win this game. That should tell you how dangerous this team could be. Wait until O.J. Howard comes back. Cameron Brate. And if you're able to get a little bit of help offensive line, still, why not? Because New Orleans is going to be developing if Drew Brees is gone. Carolina is going to be developing. Atlanta doesn't know what to do. All of a sudden, one of the toughest divisions of the last decade has become wide open. And a 40-something-year-old Tom Brady, who's already just won a Super Bowl in his first year during a pandemic, can now do that. Can do it again. But you look at Patrick Mahomes. Wonderful game. doesn't put up touchdowns, but still spectacular, shows why he is one of the favorite just in the sport. But it's the toughest thing to win a Super Bowl. Even tougher to go back-to-back. Even tougher to win when you go back-to-back. Now comes the dreaded Super Bowl hangover. We talk about it ever since Sports from the Couch became a thing. That it's no secret. The team that loses the Super Bowl has such a hard time coming back the very next season. And this is a special team. But look at what happens when you start winning. We're seeing it in Tampa Bay. Your assistant coaches, your coordinators start getting jobs, rightfully so. Guys start getting paid. You have to start changing the way you won the first time because it's just not feasible just straight from the books, let alone from a roster standpoint, from a philosophy standpoint. And then everybody else in your division, in your conference, in the league are aiming at you, developing to beat you, to get over on you. And they've had years on it now. So much tape. And now for the first time, you've looked mortal. Do I think next year that the Raiders are going to overtake the Chiefs? Probably not. Do I think the Denver Broncos are going to overtake the Chiefs? Probably not. But if all of a sudden Justin Herbert gets a weapon here and there, all of a sudden they get a lucky break here or there, things look a little bit tougher, right? You get an injury that you haven't had the last 2 years, a fluky fumble, a fluky interception. You give up a fluky touchdown, and instead of going 12-4, you're 10-6 and you miss the playoffs. That's how fast and easy it happens, even as great as it is. So you have to take full advantage of it. How many Super Bowls has Aaron Rodgers been to since he won his? How about Drew Brees, Matt Ryan? How many has Phillip Rivers gone to? These are the guys we've all love and we elevate as talents. Where have they gone? Lamar Jackson hasn't been there. Deshaun Watson hasn't been there. There's no guarantees. Tom Brady is what proves that fact. Is that how special it is. So I understand how a lot of people still believe that going into next year, they're the favorite. This is not the NBA. This is not Major League Baseball. This is the NFL. It is the toughest sport for the bounce back. And when you've gone to 2 straight Super Bowls and given it your all, and injuries are catching up to you, age is coming up to you, the payroll's coming up to you, people are getting their dues, people are expanding and moving on with their lives. It is tough to repeat. Can they do it? Absolutely. Is this a team capable of? They have the right personnel. It's the right franchise with the right talent. Absolutely. It's going to be tough. So you have to, if you're a Chiefs fan, enjoy the moment. You got yours. You won. Everything else now was just going to be gravy with these guys. But appreciate what you have and understand that nothing is guaranteed. Nothing. Except for we will always have this moment. And while we wanted the epic comeback or the epic game and to make a movie out of it, and I'm one of them. It happened. This is the story. And quite frankly, it's a real easy narrative. And that's simply Tom Brady is the anomaly to the rule. Patrick Mahomes is special. And in the NFL, defense still wins in the championship game. Looking over the last few years, the totals of the Super Bowl, we've seen it with the Rams. We saw it last year. We've seen how in that game, for those 60 minutes, doesn't matter how great your offense was. Doesn't matter how much talent you have. You got to make the special plays when they matter. And that's on the defensive side as well. And that's what we saw at Super Bowl 55. I thought it was a interesting game. Now, to say it was a good game, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. For the average fan, I think it was a boring game. For me, there was a lot of things that I was picking out. And I was just thinking about the future of the NFL and how it impacts the Chicago Bears, how it impacts everybody moving forward, and what this means for the sport moving forward. You know, in baseball and in the NBA and some of these other sports, people age out a little bit more gracefully. In the NFL, we know that there's that big cliff. But you have the greatest of all time, or at least amongst the greatest of all time. So What are the chances that it's going to end up the same way for Matthew Stafford, Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers? Just name on and on and on the older QBs. I don't know. But we end Super Bowl 55 in a crazy season where we've seen things never done before. We could never have imagined rescheduling Wednesday night games, Tuesday night games. We've seen expanded rosters. We've seen expanded playoffs, virtual drafts, virtual meetings, COVID tests, COVID fines. And while everything was just changing, the world is still changing. From the racial issues, the political issues, all of it that hit the NFL, all of the changes, still one thing remained the same. Tom Brady throwing a touchdown to Rob Gronkowski in the Super Bowl and winning another one. As Tom Brady and his Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Kansas City Chiefs 31-9, adding his 7th Vince Lombardi trophy to his mantle. Unbelievable storyline, unbelievable season, unbelievable Super Bowl. I truly believe that. Who would have? I picked the Buccaneers to win. I thought it was going to be 34-31. Patrick Mahomes didn't throw a touchdown. The Kansas City Chiefs didn't score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Amazing stuff. Let me know your thoughts. Did you win any money? How much money did you lose? Did you get the prop bets right? Did you get heads or tails? Did you guess the Gatorade? Let us know all over social media. I'm on Twitter at Mike and Media, Instagram, Mike Mercado Media, and the show's on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk.
That'll do it for us on this edition of Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Don't forget, you can follow us all over the universe. I'm on Twitter at Mike and Media, Instagram, Mike Mercado Media, and the show is on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. Like, rate, review, and shares wherever you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. It really helps grow the brand. You can become a producer of the show at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves, the home to our interviews with athletes and celebrities that you can get ad-free and before anybody else. That's patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. We have swag. Check us out at teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. Come play video games with us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves, and keep up to date with everything we're doing on the network, from the True Crime Show, the Pop Culture Show, the Gone Missing Show, and our interviews with athletes and celebrities. Follow us on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves. Enjoy all the games, take care of yourself, take care of each other. We will see you next time here on Sports from the Couch on the Mercado Airwaves Network. I'm Mike Mercado.